Hi again. I am going to read you another story, the true story of the Three Little Pigs. Some of you may know this one. It was another favorite when I was little. Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story, because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I am the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault that wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies, sheep, and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think that you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, this whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold and I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He'd built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in their right mind would build a house out of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. And I didn't want to just walk into somebody else's house, so I called out, little pig, are you in?" No answer. I was just about to go home without a cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake, and that's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. I huffed, and I snuffed. Ha-phew! And I sneezed a great sneeze. And you know what? That whole darn straw house fell down, and right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He'd been home the whole time. And it seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham drying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just laying there. I was feeling a little bit better, but I still didn't have a cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake, so I went to the next door neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother, but he was a little bit smarter, but not much. He'd built his house out of sticks. I rang the doorbell on the stick house, and nobody answered. So I called, Mr. Pig, are you in?" He yelled back, "Go away, wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin." I just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed, and I snuffed, and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. Ha-phew! And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When all the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail, wolf's honor. Now you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open, so I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little bit better now, and I still didn't have a cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake, so I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family because he'd built his house out of bricks. So I knocked on the brick house. No answer. So I called, Mr. Pig, are you in?" And you know what that rude little porker answered? He said, "Get out of here, wolf. Don't bother me again." Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't even give me one little cup. Not for my dear old sweet granny's birthday cake. What a pig! I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of the cake when I felt my cold coming on again. I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed once again. Achoo! Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little bit crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down the pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing, and I was making a real scene. And the rest, they say, is history. The news reports found out about the 2 pigs I had for dinner, and they figured a sick guy was going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting, so they jazzed up the story with all that huff and puff and blow your house down stuff, and they made me the big bad wolf. And that's it, the real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar. What do you think? Do you believe the pig story, or do you believe the wolf story?